when you look at it, does the Fed risk overdoing it with either one or both of these strategies? Does it risk overdoing it? And the layoffs that we've seen that have now spread beyond technology, you've heard about the Dow and the 3Ms and some of these that they'll pick up a pace here.
And we are indeed seeing that. In fact, Bank of America came out yesterday and they said we're only about 50% of the way through technology layoffs. So we're going to see more of those. And you're right, whether you're talking about home builders or the industrials, you are seeing a broadening of the layoff cycle. So he is knowingly hiking and tightening monetary policy into a recession. And, I think
But what if it's not so bad? The flip argument of that is that planes are packed, restaurants are packed, theaters are packed, Broadway shows are packed. And maybe we're going through the last blast of money we have available to us post-COVID. But it has been fairly strong. And that has been the one thing the president keeps championing. Look at the wind at my back, you say.
Well, he put the wind at the back with $164 billion in 2022 in business income tax refunds. That was a loophole that he signed in with his last stimulus package. So that was money that mainly went to the top earners in the country who've been able to splurge on travel, on Broadway shows. It's a reason if you're flying business.
It's not only the rich doing it. They're filling JetBlue planes and all of
that.
That's not the pedigree.
They are as well, but still that was an extra $164 billion
so you
in
don't
stimulus.
buy this economic activity where it is.
Not given what we're seeing coming out of consumer sentiment and a greater recognition that we're going into recession and more job losses. I mean, you can talk about, gee, I'm fighting inflation, but does inflation really matter if you don't have a job?
But we're not at that point, right? We still have 10 million jobs that go begging. GM is saying things are firing on all cylinders. No pun intended there.
Well,
but
last week we had the statisticians inside the Beltway tell us that they made a minor error in the second quarter of 2022. That instead of the 1.1 million jobs that were reported as having been created, it was almost negative 300,000. So we're seeing.
So things are bad. In your eyes, this idea that the job market's strong, that's just a mirage?
I'm sorry, but the Bureau of Labor Statistics in Washington, D.C. is telling us that as they come through with revisions because the statisticians have such a hard time capturing inflection points that they go back and do a 1.3 million to the negative job revision for 2022.
But it would take a long time to pair all those available jobs, right?
Well, the job postings are also a chimera. If you look at job postings for specifically to poach your competitor's best worker, who you don't have to spend money training, those job openings are through the roof. But job openings to pull unemployed Americans off the sidelines have basically flatlined since right after the pandemic. That's a Fed staff research paper I just cited.
Really? Okay. That sounds exciting.